とムルミロをデッキに戻すことで融合する。古に生きる猛禽の闘士、剣闘士の魂と交わり歴戦の勇士となれ。融合召喚来い、グラディアルビーストガンザレス。
Hey everyone, it's Murray and I'm back with another one. And today we're going to talk about Gladiator Beast Respite. A very interesting card in the archetype. This is a card that some people swear by and others hate. So very strong opinions on both sides. Me personally, I have dabbled with Respite builds in the past. And while it's not my favorite card in the archetype, it's not the worst thing you can be doing with Glad Beast. I have seen much worse takes before. And at the Ultimate Time Wizard in Austin, the top 4 list did play Respite, so it has seen high-level success. So I think the card does deserve a conversation about it. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about the card. So what does Respite even do? So Respite allows you to shuffle back 2 Gladiator Beast cards to draw 3 new cards. So when you look at the card on the surface, there's a lot of positive things about it. The card lets you shuffle back bricks like Sekitor, Test Tiger, Rescue Cat targets, I should say. Extra copies of your GB monsters, redundant copies of War Chariot, and including other copies of Respite. And because of this mulligan that it gives you, potentially you can fix your hands by drawing into battle traps, power one-ups. And of course, it is a Gladiator Beast card, so you can add it back with a quest, and even search it with Samnite. So on the surface, Respite has a lot going for it. But Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a very complex game. There's a lot more to a card than meets the eye. So let's go ahead and really dissect the card and take a closer look at it. So let's look at the first point. Respite fixes hands, right? So, okay, if you open, let's say, the worst case scenario, you open like 4 or 5 GBs in the starting hand. Okay, I can see why Respite would be good there. You shuffle back the 2 Glads you want the least and draw a fresh new hand, basically. But the question you have to ask yourself is, how often are you actually drawing those hands for Respite to be good? As a Glad player, I'm proactively building my deck to avoid those situations as much as possible. So a very good rule to follow is the 1-to-3 ratio. So basically, if you're playing a 40 card deck, you want a third of it to be your normal summons, and then the other 2/3 to be your spell and traps, your non-normals like Test Tiger, Cyber Dragon, stuff like that. So I actually did the numbers on this, so I have a pretty good probability on this stuff. So the odds of you, opening at the very least 2 GBs is roughly about 60%. While the odds of opening 3 or more GBs is roughly 30%. I chose 3 as the minimum because if you're going to Respite 2 GBs away, ideally you want to keep at least 1 in your hand. And I chose 2 GBs as the most you want to open with because assuming 1 doesn't get banished, the other can just tag into a quest to keep adding back the other. So already there's a hole in Respite's logic, right? You're playing it to fix the bad hands, but the bad hands only happen roughly 30% of the time. So you're building it for the worst possible scenario, which happens this amount of time. Now, of course, you might look at this and say, well, why not increase the number of Glad cards in your deck to make Respite go off more often? Well, that's another hole right there, because why would you purposely make your deck less consistent and more prone to drawing those monster flooded hands to make Respite more consistent? It's a very weird way of deck building, and you're just gonna end up breaking on more monsters more often, and that's the thing. Like Respite, you're not even guaranteed to draw the card, right? So 60% of the time, your hand is gonna look like this. You're gonna have two GBs and then three other stolen traps, and you'll have Respite, and you'll be at a very weird spot where, do you really want to Respite away this playable hand to maybe draw into something slightly better? I mean, the only thing better than drawing Retiari is drawing Laquari, but you can already tag into Laquari anyway. Um, and why Respite away the War Chariot? Because for all you know, you may not see it again. There are some games where you just don't see Chariot the entire time. So it's a very weird card in those instances. So it's a very flawed logic there. Another thing about Respite is that it doesn't actually fix your hands, because you're putting back the cards. If Respite said discard 2 Glad cards to draw 3, I can see it being more appealing. But Respite really is only letting you dig into your deck by 1 extra card, because you're putting back 2. So that's very flawed. And then, of course, not to mention, one of the more obvious things is that Respite, it's a very awkward top deck. In matchups like Blackwing and Hero Beat, where the game state gets very simplified, I would hate to draw Respite. So you're much better off tailing your deck to draw the 2 monster combinations I listed. And honestly, in a lot of the hands you draw with GB, you're better off having a defensive card. I'd rather take the variance and just accept the odds of drawing a monster hand 30% of the time, or even less. The Yu-Gi-Oh! Probability calculator exists for a reason. But yeah, that's a quick one for you guys. Want to make it quick and simple. Just wanted to get my thoughts out there. If you guys like this kind of content, let me know, and I'll see y'all later.